All right, y'all. Today we're going to do kind of an extension of the original division notes video. We are going to do dividing polynomials with remainders and other special situations. So make sure that you get this notes title down, 1.3b notes, dividing polynomials with remainders. And then I'm going to read this part of the problem, but I would just like for you to write down the division problem that we're doing. And then as I read the problem, I'm going to kind of break down some of the words because they look a little scary, but they're really not as scary as they look. Okay, let's start. So divide the polynomials. The form of your answer should either be p of x or p of x plus k over x minus 6, where p of x is a polynomial and k is an integer. Okay, so I think that the thing that looks the most scary about this problem is this thing. And it's telling us is you're either going to get a polynomial for your answer, which is p of x, or you're going to get a polynomial plus polynomial plus a remainder, because your remainder always goes on top, a remainder over whatever you were dividing by, x minus 6. So it's just telling you that's what your answer is going to look like. Okay, so instead of getting freaked out by that, hopefully you have already written this down. If not, make sure you write it down. And we're just going to focus on the division part. Oh, and then it says k is an integer right here. Integer just means number. That's all integer means in math. Okay, so get the division problem down. 2x cubed minus 13x squared plus 9x minus 16 divided by x minus 6. Make sure you have this example down. And we're going to jump straight into it. All right, the first thing I want from you is for you to tell me what should I draw on my paper to divide? What should I draw on my paper to start dividing? Go. All right, hopefully you said the box. We need to use the box to divide. So I'm going to draw the box on my paper. And again, I normally put 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I don't stress about how many. I always just start with 4. If I need more, I can add. All right, and then the next thing I want you to tell me is what should go on the side of my box? What should go right here? Tell me what should go on the side of the box. All right, the x minus 6 needs to go on the side of the box, so we're going to go ahead and put x minus 6 on the side of the box. And then we're going to start dividing, and you can tell me this again. You tell me what should I put in the very first square of the inside of my box? What should I put in here? Go ahead and tell me. All right, hopefully we said, the majority of us, or all of us said 2x cubed. That should go right here, 2x cubed. Always your first term goes in the inside of your box. All right, so now that we've got that there, we can go ahead and start filling out the rest of our box. So what we're going to do to get the top filled out is we're going to ask ourselves what multiplies by x to get me 2x cubed. What multiplies by x to get me 2x cubed? And that number goes here. So x times 2x squared would give me 2x cubed. That's why 2x squared goes on top. All right, again, to fill out the bottom squares of our box, we're always going to multiply using the top. So let's go ahead and multiply. We have negative 6 times 2x squared. So negative 6 times 2x squared, that is negative 12x squared. Sweet. So now that we have multiplied and filled out the bottom of that square, what we need to do is we need to ask ourselves what goes here in this other green area. We know it has to be an x squared term, has to be x squared, because these always add, they combine. But where should we look? Where should we look to know what value goes in there? We should look to our numerator. Look for x squared in your numerator and then see what number is on that. So negative 13x squared. That's how many we have in our numerator. So now what we need to write for ourselves is negative 12 plus what? Plus what? gives me negative 13. So I'm going to write that over here. Negative 12 plus what gives me negative 13. And we're trying to figure out this number. That's what's going to go in that green square. Negative 12 plus negative 1. Negative 12 plus negative 1 would give me negative 13x squared. So now we can go ahead and fill out the top of our box. X times what gives me negative 1x squared. X times negative 1x will give me negative 1x squared. All right, we're going to the bottom. We need to multiply to get this thing. So we're going to do negative 6 times negative 1x squared, and we get positive 6x. Sweet. Look, back to your numerator. Back to your numerator. We have positive 6x. We need to add something to it to get how many x's? How many x's are in our numerator? Positive 9x. Okay, so we have positive 6x, and it needs to add to positive 9x. So we're going to say 6 plus what equals 9. 6 plus what number gives me 9? That's what's going to go in that blue square, and we know that that is 3. That's how many x's have to combine with 6 to give us what we need, which is positive 9. Okay, let's go ahead and fill out the top. X times what gives me 3x? X times 3. And then we multiply to get the square under that blue square. We have negative 6 times 3. That's negative 18. Okay, cool. Let's look back to our numerator. This is the pattern we keep going through. We currently have negative 18. How many do we need? What number, when you end on a number in your box, that's when you know you're done dividing. What number were we supposed to end on? Negative 16. So that's a problem. We didn't end on the right number. So here's what we're going to do. If you don't end on the right number, you have a remainder, and I always just put that inside the box also. And let's write a note. How do we know how to find the remainder? The remainder, you should be writing this down. Remainder is the number you have to add to get to the number you need. To the number you need. And then the number you need is, again, in the numerator. The number you need is in the numerator. That's where we should be looking. Okay, so we have in our box negative 18, and we need negative 16 because that's in our numerator. So the question is, negative 18 plus what will give me negative 16? Negative 18 plus what number will give me negative 16? And y'all, just as a heads up, when you have the negative, when you have the negative first here, see how the negative's in front and then you have a positive? You can flip them. You can flip those terms if you want because of the additive property. So what we're allowed to do is say question mark minus 18 equals negative 16. You're allowed to flip those. So what has to go here, if it helps, it might not help, but sometimes it helps. Hopefully y'all have figured it out by now. Negative 18 plus 2 would get me to negative 16. So the answer, the thing that goes in this question mark, is 2. And so that means our remainder is 2. Because if we were to add 2 to the negative 18, we would get back to what we have and what we need, which is in our numerator. All right, so positive 2 is our remainder. How do I represent that in my answer? Again, your remainder is going to go on top. Look back up at the top of the question. It goes on top of what you were dividing by. And we just need to make sure we write the sign. So it's positive 2, so we're going to do positive. And then put the remainder on top. 2 over what were we originally dividing by? X minus 6. All right, that is your answer. That is what you will put in the box, the answer box that Khan Academy has. Okay, let's move on to one more weird example. I have one more for y'all. I'm giving y'all a second to write all this down. Make sure you get this entire problem down. It's very important for you to know how to divide polynomials with remainders, especially for the final exam. All right, let's go ahead and do another special case, a weird division problem. Here we go. So again, you do not need to write down all the words, but I do want you to make sure you get this division problem down. And we are going to start in the same way that we know how to start, by drawing a box. So let's draw a box on our paper. All right. And we now know what should go on the outside of our box. The denominator, x minus 5. Cool. What should go on the inside of our box? The first term that should go on the inside of our box is this first term, or the highest power. X cubed is the highest power. So make sure it's in standard form. Your numerator has to be in standard form. But it is in standard form, so that first term can now go in here in this first square. So we have 2x cubed. And now we can start filling out the rest of our box. So we have to do x times what gives me 2x cubed. X times 2x squared will give me 2x cubed, right? Okay, let's keep going. Remember, on the bottom, you're going to multiply to fill out these bottom boxes. So now we have negative 5x times 2x. That is negative 10x squared. And we know that those diagonals, the negative 10x squared and what's diagonal from it, are going to have to add up to the number of x squares we see in our numerator. So let's go to our numerator. There's x squared. How many do I see? Negative 11x squared. So we know that these two have to add up to negative 11. So I'm gonna write my little question, negative 10 plus what gives me negative 11. I need negative 11. Negative 10 plus negative 1 gives me negative 11. So negative 1, and remember they always have the same power and variable in the diagonals, so x squared. Now let's go and fill out this top. X times what gives me negative 1x squared? X times negative 1x. Cool. We can multiply to fill out the bottom box on that column. So negative 5 times negative 1x, that gives me positive 5x. Sweet. Let's go ahead and highlight that its own color. So 5x and this box have to add up to the number of x's that we see. We know that there's got to be an x in this box because remember they have to have the same variable and power on that variable, but we need to figure out what number this is. So where do we look? We look in our numerator. Everyone look in your numerator. How many x's do you see in your numerator? And when I say how many x's, I mean plain x's. So this is x cubed, this is x squared. How many x's do you see? Please tell me how many x's you see in the numerator. Plain x's. All right. I don't see any. So I'm going to say there are no, this is why this is a weird division problem. There are no x's in the numerator. Okay, so how many x's do we need in our box? What's the same as none in math? What number? 0. So I'm going to say, so we need 0 x's in our box. But how many x's do we have in our box right now? We have 5 x's in our box. So the question is, 5 plus what will give me 0? 5 plus what gives me 0? It has to cancel out. They have to cancel out 5 plus negative 5. So that's what has to go there. Then we get to 0 x's in our box if we add these. 5 plus negative 5 gives me 0. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and fill out the top now. Right here, x times what gives me negative 5x? That'll be x times negative 5. And we multiply to get the box under that filled out. So negative 5 times negative 5 gives me positive 25. We have to check our numerator again. check your numerator. We have 25. We need 25. Oh, great. There's no remainder. So we could write r is 0 because we finished with what we need. Or we could just box our final answer, box the quotient. The final answer to a division problem is called the quotient, and you will put that in the box in Khan Academy. Okay, great work. Let's do some practice now.